ACC is firmly in third place among power conferences, but is that enough? Let's bring in the squad.
You're talking ball with the ACC Squad, sponsored by Game Time. From Florida State to North Carolina, from Syracuse to Miami, and from NC State to California, it's the local experts of the Locked On Podcast Network, bringing you scoops, breakdowns, and the most comprehensive preview of the upcoming ACC weekend. Hang on, it could get loud, it could get heated, and it will definitely be fun. Squad up, you're part of the ACC Squad.
Squad up. Shout out to the everydayers, and thank you so much for making the ACC Squad your first listen and your first watch. We're available free wherever you get your podcasts. We're free on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We got JJ Jackson from Locked On Blue Devils. He's here on location in Charlotte, as are me. I'm Alex Dono from Locked On Canes. Kenton Gibbs from Locked On Wolfpack. And then in the far corners of Syracuse, New York, we have Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse with us. So, all right, Kenton, I'll start with you on this one. I'll let you buy the first round. So it is fair to say the ACC is firmly in third place. We all know they're behind the SEC. They're behind the Big Ten and revenues, TV ratings, all that.
Right.
Clearly in front of the Big 12 right now. And the ACC has generated record revenues as of late. So is being firmly in third place, is that enough in your eyes right now?
I hate to do this, but I have to quote one Kendrick Duckworth, and it's not enough. Few solid revenues, but it's not enough. The reality is somebody brought this up and asked this question today in terms of, hey, the Big 12 capitulated to multiple teams who were seeking to get out of their conference to get more money as well. Those teams all eventually ended up leaving, because it'll never be enough. It'll never be enough ground if teams are trying to make up 100% of the difference between them and a team in the SEC or the Big Ten. It will never be enough unless you can get them to 100%. That's just the reality. Even if you can get them to 80%, teams will still look up and say, why am I sacrificing this 20% just to stay in the ACC? So third place is good. Grady, it's not enough.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think when you look at what the conferences have been doing the past few weeks, trying to, it's talking season for a reason. We got to find things that we need to talk about. And so the ACC trying to not back down. But these teams are going to want their full share of the pie, as you're saying. They're going to want to do whatever it takes to make the most money possible for their institutions. At a certain point, this turns into a selfish problem. I want to support myself first and foremost before thinking about how the rest of my peers in a league are perceived or helped.
No, it's not enough to be third place. You can never go into – first of all, there's only 4 power conferences out there. So being third, you're in the bottom half. It's not like we're talking about third out of 30. We're talking about 3 out of 4. That ain't exactly good enough here, okay? There's only 4 power conferences. Second of all, I don't know about you all, but it's a mindset thing. I mean, are you happy with the bronze medal? No. You want the gold medal, right? You want to be number 1. And if you have the mindset of, we're okay with being in third, well, guess what? The Big 12 is going to pass you, because the Big 12 is going to sit there and say, well, we're not okay being 4th. So we're going to do everything in our power to leapfrog the ACC, and then so on and so forth, the Big 10 and the SEC. So the ACC, you cannot have the mindset of, we're okay being in third place. It's okay. It's fine. No, you need to have the mindset of, no, we're going for the throne. We're going for first place, and whatever happens, happens. But the mission of the conference should be, you're going for number 1. So no, third place out of 4 is not good enough.
Well, when you put that in the context of what the Big 12 is doing, it could potentially be enough to keep third. It is not enough to keep these 2 teams. The Big 12 just turned down Memphis, who offered them 9 figures and did not want to take any revenue and for the first 5 years at minimum, and gave the Big 12 a instant breakup clause at 2030.
Yeah.
And they turned it down for some reason. I can't find the logic in that. A lot of people were saying, well, they've got their eyes on teams falling out of the ACC when that happens. I don't understand that, though, because let's say everything happens according to the timeline that we know. The new TV deals kick in when?
About 2030, 2031.
2030 to 2031. So if you go up to 2030 with this team, they do not receive a dime. You receive $300 million, and then when the new TV deals are about to be due, You just say, actually, I'm good. Shoo, we'll use your $300 million to purchase a new team out of the ACC. You're coming out a winner.
Yeah.
I don't get that. What is the problem with legitimizing Memphis in that moment? To me, I think that's a grave misstep by your mark that we'll look back at and say, that was a deciding moment as to why the Big 12 stayed fourth. Because I'll tell you, do you think Jim Phillips would turn that down? You think he turned down a team giving them $300 million?
They took Cal and Stanford, and not as sweet of a deal as that.
And guess what? My case has a Snuggie on. It's put on its big pillow. It's put on the rain sound. It's resting peacefully.
I think literally any school in the country, if they offer Jim Phillips $200-300 million to join the conference, I think they take it. I don't even. It doesn't matter where that school is located. We can be talking about they're in the middle of Russia here, and they'd probably still take the school. It's free money. Just take the program. But I don't know. That's the Big 12's problem.
And at least Memphis somewhat makes sense when we're talking geography strictly. You know, when you add the Atlantic Coast Conference, adding California schools to the mix the last few years, at least if you are Memphis and you made that same pitch to the ACC, the travel would not be that big of an issue at all.
Yeah, and I guess my question would be, how much more room for growth do you think there is, Kenton? I'll start with you when it comes to the ACC, because again, the revenues, for what it's worth, keep going up. It may not be SEC Big Ten type of revenue, but they're going up every single year. We have this thing, it's very polarizing coming up, called the Brand Initiative, which was part of that settlement with Florida State and Clemson, where if you put on better TV ratings, more people watch you on Saturdays, you're going to make a bigger share of that revenue. And that could go a long way into, at least temporarily, satisfying the Florida States and the Clemsons, and schools like Miami and UNC and so on can also benefit from that, and certainly Duke basketball can. And so are we on the right track here when it comes to growth? Because we're definitely creating a wider gap between the haves and the have-nots, but the haves are the ones you need to keep happy.
I will say this. I'll quote another entertainer here, Lindsay Lohan in Mean Girls. The limit does not exist in terms of growth. If teams want to give you a sweetheart deal, you take the deal. You don't look the prize horse in the mouth. If you get offered the type of deal that Memphis put forth, you don't make any second thoughts about it, because what concessions are you making would be my question. The absolute worst thing you could say is a potential slight detriment to your perception because people would perceive Memphis as not being on the level as some of your other teams. Sure. You give me $300 million, you could ruin my perception. Yeah. You could ruin,
I like what you said earlier about legitimizing them, because a lot of the teams that are now in power conferences and even thriving, they came from the group of 5 or the group of 6 or whatever it is now. That until you get that, SMU a couple of years ago,
yep.
What were they in the AAC? They almost won the ACC last year. I thought you said it well when you used that word legitimize, that if you give a program that opportunity, sometimes they can make the most of that.
And they're paying for the opportunity. That's the big thing that I think I'm missing. So when we talk about growth, to me, the growth needs to come at a rate where you are not, it's not a detriment to yourself. It's not growth that's cutting off your arm to kind of get out and get more. No. This is literally you taking in good growth. I just don't understand why not.
Again, I think the ACC would take literally any school in the country right now if they wanted to offer a great deal. I think another school that we need to talk about, but it's completely unrealistic again, and it would honestly be the other way around, where the ACC would be giving money to get this program in, would be Notre Dame. Because if you can get Notre Dame football in, that is your ultimate growth right there. And that's an investment that is probably worth it no matter what price you are paying, because it's Notre Dame football. Unfortunately, it's not realistic. But if you're talking about growth opportunities for the ACC, that is the pie in the sky dream scenario if you can get Notre Dame to join the conference in football.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And I will say, we were having some fun, Kenton, that one of the reasons why the ACC is able to flex the toughest non-conference schedule in college football is that scheduling agreement they have with Notre Dame, who's not technically in the conference. But yeah, you talk about, if you were to give the ACC an opportunity to really compete with the big boys, Big Ten and the SEC, if you could find a way to make Notre Dame a full-fledged member of the conference. They're in every sport but football, but football is the biggest money driver. And suddenly you become a contender with the Big Two.
Who could have thought? Who could have thought? Minds are blown all over America at this point.
I mean, think about it, what it would be like if Notre Dame was in the ACC here. There would be automatically every year basically two teams that are close to, if not locks, for the college football playoff. Every year, no matter what. You got Clemson, you got Notre Dame, and then you got big programs behind them like Florida State and Miami. And there's others that I'm not mentioning, but you get the idea. If you add a program like Notre Dame, that's the ultimate growth opportunity. Yeah, it's great. I mean, you're going to obviously take the money if you add some random school from some random conference. It's going to be nice for the ACC. But the ultimate growth opportunity is trying to get Notre Dame in, but I don't see Notre Dame leaving anytime soon.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about what we have when we come back. Is one of the things that goes on this week, fellas, is media members, we get the opportunity to vote conference champions, top players in the conference. I know Kenton and I and JJ will be filling out our ballots here over the next day or so. Who's winning this thing? I know the choice may seem obvious, but I mean, how do we see that top 4, top 6 finishing out? We got a lot still to cover here. We're at Media Days in Charlotte, Hilton Charlotte Uptown. Alex Dono from Locked On Canes, Kenton Gibbs, Locked On Wolfpack. We got Jackson Holzer, Locked On Syracuse, JJ Jackson, Locked On Blue Devils. We're only getting started on this brand new episode of The Squad. Guys, we're only getting started with FanDuel. I mean, you know, I'm about that action, and the summer sports are in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, high-stakes soccer action, anyone, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. I've been using FanDuel to track my favorite matchups, and the app keeps it fresh with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. It's easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I'm part of the action. If you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Thank you so much for making the squad your first listen and your first watch. Got Jackson Holzer from Locked On Syracuse, JJ Jackson, Locked On Blue Devils, Alex Dono and Kenton Gibbs from Locked On ACC, and Locked On Canes and Locked On Wolfpack, respectfully. All right, so first question. Don't all raise your voice at once. Are any of us not going to vote for Clemson to win the ACC?
It shan't be me.
I'm going Clemson.
I'm picking Clemson.
I'm probably picking Clemson as well, even though I feel like I got to be one of those token guys to like stand up for my school and vote.
I knew it.
Kenton, last year, Boston College got more than one vote from media members in attendance. Cal, I think, got 2 votes to win the conference last year. So shouldn't I be doing it? And JJ should be voting for Duke. You should be voting for NC State. Like,
all that means is we need to start drug testing here in Charlotte. That's all that means. Commissioner Phillips, if you can hear the sound of my voice, this means that we need to get them little cups out and do it like the NCAA does it, where they watch you. So they make sure that there's no funny business going on.
Before you turn the ballot.
It doesn't even matter about the – I mean, these are people who are probably just big Boston College fans that are voting for Boston College to win the conference, or big Cal fans to win. There's no drug test that can stop that, to be honest with you. I don't know what to do about it. It's just people wanting to represent their school.
I don't know what under God's green earth could make a sober person, a person of sober heart and mind, say, Bill O'Brien with limited resources? That sounds like a champion to me. I'm sorry.
It's a fan. You know what fan stands for? Fanatic.
Yeah.
So you're not thinking rationally, even if you're sober.
But it shouldn't be a fan. This is a media ballot.
I agree, but it's just how it is. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so here's the real question, and I'll let Jackson go first on this one. What would your, let's say, top 4 look like? You fill out conference order 1 through 4. What order do you have that?
Clemson 1. How's Carson Beck doing, Dono?
What's that?
How's Carson Beck doing, Dono?
I'm glad you asked. He was very chipper today. I sat down with Miami's new quarterback one. He emphasized to me he has been fully healthy for months, that he's been out there, throwing to his receivers and off-season workouts. And I'll be. This is my first time meeting Beck, because since he was not, fully healthy during spring, they didn't make him available to the media. Seems like a guy who's got a good head on his shoulders. I kept hearing from these Georgia people like, oh, he's immature, huge character concerns. I mean, I didn't see any character concerns here at the Hilton Charlotte Uptown.
All right, good enough for me. I'll be the idiot. I'll take Miami at 2. And then I'll go Louisville 3 and SMU 4.
That might be my exact order, by the way, Kenton.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm kind of right there as well. I think that.
Hold on a minute. You're telling me I nailed this? What the hell?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
People.
I'm sorry, but there's no way that I can put Miami ahead of Louisville and SMU at this point.
Thank you. I needed someone to disagree with me.
I can't do it only because they don't have the same problems in terms of get right-itis that I've seen out of Miami. Those two teams have shown their propensity.
Hold on. You don't think Louisville has get right-itis?
Louisville's been to an ACC championship in the last 3 years.
I mean, but what did they do in that game against a third-string quarterback?
They played against a defense that had two guys that are now Pro Bowlers / all-pro level guys in terms of Jared Verse and Braden Fisk. They have looked phenomenal in the league against guys that get paid millions to block them up. So I'm not too upset about their offense looking like that. Your boys blew a 21-point lead to Syracuse.
Because the Fighting Jackson Holzers were just too good on that day. Like, what were we supposed to do? And Kyle McCord
the only team that could really stop Syracuse last year.
And this is Donno's attempt to get Mario Cristobal to come at me again, because earlier today Cristobal got a little feisty with me when I said, "Hey, Miami's got a bad case of can't get right-itis. You've been right there," and he said we actually didn't have the talent.
Well, here's what he took issue, and I thought it was a really good question, and you got a really good answer.
I did, honestly.
But it was kind of like two questions packaged into one. So you gave them another part of the question where he didn't have to answer the get right-itis part, right?
Yeah.
Because you mentioned Miami always has the talent.
Right.
And then Mario Cristobal's point was, when he got to Miami in 2022, they didn't have anybody at that point who was going to be NFL drafted. Like, unfortunately, the 3 years of the Manny Diaz era. And by the way, JJ, just so you know, I think Manny Diaz is doing a much better job at Duke than he did at Miami.
Big fan.
He learned a lot from his issues first time as a head coach at Miami, but was not recruiting very well at Miami. Mark Richt, I think, was unfortunately a little past his prime. When he was at Miami, he didn't exactly stock the cupboards nearly to Manny Diaz. So basically, you gave Mario Cristobal a reason to avoid the get right-itis part of it. And, you implying that he, and whether you meant to imply it or not, implying that he inherited a team with a bunch of talent. His point was it didn't have a bunch of talent.
But that's what I'm saying. I specifically said, and this goes beyond you.
Well,
but Miami has had a case that can't get right. Because even if we talk about what is down recruiting for Miami, we talk about guys not being NFL draft picks, but if we look at those classes, how many times is Miami outside the top 25 nationally in recruiting?
Yeah, pretty rarely. I mean,
you see what I'm saying? So it's tough.
They do have talent.
Exactly. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. So it's tough for me to sit here and hear, oh, they don't have talent, when we've got NC State football, Syracuse football, and Duke football represented right here, and you're telling me that Miami hasn't had talent. I don't know.
Well, I mean, not to break it off into a bigger discussion. We'll get back on track in a second. And part of this, and this also has to be fixed under Cristobal. It was an issue before, still an issue, is actually developing the talent you get in there. So, even if Manny Diaz may have had like a 25th ranked recruiting class in the country, they certainly weren't developing that into a top 25 team.
Absolutely. And I think that's a very fair point. But to me, that gets into a different conversation. If we're talking about not developing talent, that does not mean that you do not have the talent.
Yeah.
We can get into why guys aren't developing. Did they pick the wrong guys? Was there something wrong with their strength and conditioning or weight room, whatever the case may be? But my argument is always that when I look at Miami historically, and like I said, this goes beyond Cristobal, because I know Miami fans love to act like I hate Miami as if I didn't wear 99 all throughout my childhood because I loved Warren Sapp. But
if the shoe fits,
well, listen, if they want to lace up a size 16 on me, just make sure it's a Gucci loafer. But I look at this and I say that is a team that, with all due respect, I need to see you actually get it done.
Yeah.
Even with Cristobal building in the right direction. I'm not mad at that. I agree. He is building in the right direction. However, at some point in time, the potential has to be potential. I need to see the potential go to, hey, we've all got rings now. We've all got big old rings saying that we built this program from what it was when the cupboards were barren to a champion.
All right, so it sounds like me and JJ agree with Jackson's top 4. Clemson, Miami. Jackson, you have Louisville first, or you had Louisville third and SMU fourth, correct?
Yep.
I agree completely. Kenton clearly disagrees, so give us your top 4.
I think that is the top 4, just not the order.
Okay.
I think that you go Clemson. Right. I think that you go Louisville at 2. I think you go SMU at 3, and I think you go Miami at 4.
Okay.
So the difference is essentially one game.
That's pretty much. And I have felt like at multiple times that can't get right-itis has bitten Miami. And we could blame it on the defense, but the defense, okay, they allowed 21 points, but that should not have caused a 21-point comeback, because that also means your offense has not pissed the drop at that point.
Yeah,
you get what I'm saying? So
for sure.
It's not just about, I don't believe in Miami because of this one moment. It's been a build-up of this. The same reason why a lot of people don't believe in NC State, and I'm okay with that. Yeah. I'm okay with people saying, hey, this NC State team, Dave Dorner showed us who he is. He's a 6-6 merchant. He's a 7-5 merchant. He's going to roll up a stogie after going 8-4 and beating Bill Belichick, the biggest stogie you've ever seen. Yeah. I'm okay with that because that's what his history has shown.
All right, so when we come back, who's just outside that top 4, and who's going to surprise us, right? Because nobody expected SMU last year to be in the top 4, let alone number 2. Everybody last year thought Florida State was number 1, and then look what happened to them. So who could surprise us? You want to keep it locked right here. We're not done yet on this brand new episode of The Squad. Thank you for making us your first listen and your first watch. For your next listen, make sure you check out our other shows. Kenton Gibbs and Grayson Boone do an awesome job hosting Locked On Wolfpack. They're going to have a ton of coverage coming up on Thursday, right? KG is Wolfpack Day?
Oh, yeah. We got well, it's not just Wolfpack Day. It's North Carolina Day. We got
North
Carolina. We got Duke. We got NC State. If you're from this great state of North Carolina, you're going to be on Thursday.
So make sure you check out Locked On Wolfpack. Check out Locked On Canes that I host. Check out Locked On Syracuse with Jackson Holzer and Locked On Blue Devils with JJ Jackson. All right, Kenton. So just outside of that top 4, and like we all agree on the 4, we disagree on the order. Mm-hmm. I pretty strongly feel that I'm going to write Georgia Tech into that 5th spot. And I'm going, and this is a little bit of a hot take, and I'm within earshot of the War Chant guys who will be very pleased that I'm saying this. I don't think Florida State might be able to surprise some people. They might be able to kind of inch closer to that top 4 this year.
Who's their quarterback?
Tommy Castellanos, your favorite.
Okay, yeah, they're going 6-6.
Dono, I was with you.
Where does the 6-6 fall in the conference? I don't know, but they're going 6-6.
Exactly. Dono, I was with you with the top 5.
You probably go Pitt, right, at 6?
Pitt is an enigma for me because I believe a healthy Eli Holstein spells out that they could be 6. But at that 5 spot, I wouldn't even call them a 5. I'd call it more of a 4B. The quarterback scrambling, the wreck is rambling. Georgia Tech has to be in that consideration for a team that is right there. That is right there on the precipice. Like I've talked about, they have some depth issues at some key spots. But if they maintain relative health at those spots, I truly see this could be a special year for them. You talk about them being very well prepared, but sometimes just lacking that top-end talent. How much more talented can you get than Haynes King at quarterback, Jamal Haynes at running back? All Americans on your offensive line?
But who's catching balls? They lost Eric Singleton to Auburn.
And I agree with you. And that the wide receiver core is one of those positions where I say, hey, you can't afford an injury or 2 there. You're going to be in a bad way if that happens. But even beyond that, to me, if you can win in the trenches, the same thing I said about why Miami is up here, right? I have a lot of questions about Miami's skill position groups. But when I talk about Miami and I talk about what they do well, they're going to win in the trenches. And you know what I believe about Georgia Tech this year? They're going to win in the trenches. So I think that sets them up in position to where, again, I don't even think they're a true 5. I believe they're more of a 4B.
I want you all to take a look at Duke's schedule. And I'm not just saying this because JJ is in here.
Thank you. Well, Dono teased me because he said I'm within earshot, and I thought he was about to hype me and Duke up a little bit since we're both here in the Hilton. But go ahead, Jackson.
So I look at Duke's schedule, and I'm not saying they're going to run the table because they're not going to run the table. But how many games, when you look at it, do you say they can't win that game? There's maybe one at Clemson. Other than that, it's a pretty doable schedule. What's their second toughest game? Illinois, Tulane, Georgia Tech, but you get them at home. If Duke goes 9-3 or 10-2, I would not be surprised.
See,
if Darian Mensah is the guy that they're paying him to be, especially, right? I mean, they're paying him all that money. He better be pretty good. So if he plays at that caliber level where he's in the conversation or is an all ACC player, Duke's going 9-3 or 10-2 this season, and people are going to act stunned by it, even though this team went 9-3 last year.
Yeah.
That's a sleeper.
I can get behind that. My only question about them, you've lost a lot in the trenches over the past 2 years. And while Duke has done a great job of developing guys who were unheralded coming out of high school or getting guys in the portal that turn out to be massive gets, how much attrition can Duke suffer in the portal before we start having a very serious conversation, or not just the portal, but also graduating out in terms of a Dwayne Carter, in terms of a Monk, in terms of Aeneas Peoples who transferred out. And you say to yourself, okay, well, how many big bodies do they have that are good? Because don't get me wrong, I think Manny Diaz is doing a fantastic job. He's coaching up that defense. Nobody disguises a defense like Manny Diaz and company. I want to make that very clear. That secondary, they're going to be fierce. They're going to be something to absolutely be reckoned with this year. But I'm asking myself, okay, you have questions about a lot of new starters on the offensive line, and you're breaking in a first-year transfer quarterback, and you're breaking in first-year transfer receivers. We're expecting a lot of cohesion in year one that I think that other teams have that puts them in front. Georgia Tech has a lot of cohesion that I say this puts them definitively in front of Duke to me.
I think the other team I would look at is Pitt. But also Pitt is that caliber. Pitt's that team almost every year where you just write them in the middle of your standing predictions.
It's always right.
It's just they're just right there in the middle. They're all right. That 8th spot. I'm just going to write the Pitt Panthers, and I'm not even going to look at their roster or anything. I'm just going to write them in. But they are a sleeper.
They started 7-0 last year, and then they found a way to go 7-6.
I know. They start 7-0, and Kenton is campaigning for them to be a top 5 team in the country or whatever. And we kept on coming on the ACC Squad every week saying they're not a top 5 team in the country. And then lo and behold, every week it became a running joke about Pitt.
Are you a sports analyst or are you a historian, Jackson? Because you keep bringing up old stuff. You keep bringing up old stuff.
Well, if you're going to tell me Miami's can't get right itis, you can't now pick and choose whether it's history.
Why can't I do a little bit?
You're saying Miami's not going to be good, or what? Miami's not going to be 2 because of what they've done in the past. Well,
hey,
now
listen.
I'm sitting here talking about Pitt and everything like that in the past, and you're sitting here saying you can't talk about the past.
Hey, listen, I'm always going to ride with a winner. I'm sorry.
Neither of those schools are winners.
Anybody who starts off their season more than half their season without a loss, I'm going to ride with them. I'm sorry. If that makes me a bad
Safe
guy,
bet.
Call me a bad guy. Sorry.
Boy, good thing you're not a betting man, because you would have put the house on Pitt at like they're 7-0. They're gonna go 12-1, no problem. You'd be home.
They're gonna make the playoff.
Oh, absolutely.
We should be right there. They're like better than Georgia. They got a better record than them.
My wife better not ever let me take out a HELOC and hit the FanDuel ever.
Oh my gosh. Oh man. Well, listen, it's always a good time. We're gonna have so much more content from out here this week. We got our guy JJ Jackson is absolutely hustling, producing great content. Locked on ACC episodes, Locked on Wolfpack, Locked on Canes. I know even Jackson's in Syracuse, but he's still finding a way to pump out great content regardless, man. Everyone keep up the good work. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button, subscribe. Locked on ACC, subscribe to Locked on Wolfpack, Locked on Canes, Locked on Blue Devils, Locked on Syracuse. And we will talk to everyone again next time on another episode of the ACC Squad right here on the awesome Locked on Podcast Network. Your team every day.